Welcome to today's webinar on the introduction to the Esri operations dashboard for ArcGIS Online. This is absolutely one of my favorite things from Esri. It's really easy to use. It's really actually kind of fun to put together, and it's going to give people a really good picture of what their GIS data is doing. As we go through this webinar, this is a Zoom presentation, so if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the Zoom group chat window, and I will answer them at the end. So going through this, my name is Jason Artley. I am a senior technical specialist here with ATG USA. We are an Autodesk Platinum partner, and we also partner with Esri, which gives us all sorts of powerful tools at our beck and call that we can help our clients with and get to show them off like we are today. So today we're looking at the Esri dashboard. We're going to go over how this operations dashboard is used. I'm going to show off some real life use cases for it. They're actually pretty sweet. And then we're going to look at the interface and how this is going to work with our existing GIS workflow. And then at the end, we're going to configure a basic dashboard, basic operations dashboard for ourselves. And we're going to have that show real-time data. So what is the operations dashboard? It's a web interface, so it's a web application created in the ArcGIS Online space that is fully configurable, that's going to allow us to look at our data in a different way. Now, when we think of GIS data, some of it is extremely overwhelming. There's just so many bits of pieces of it, and then maybe you don't need to see all of that. Maybe you wanted to see it organized with graphs or pie charts, or as you zoom in and out, you want to have things update. And that's what the dashboard is going to do. It's going to connect to real data, but it's going to allow it to be changed and visualized in a different way that's a little bit more intuitive for a number of different users. If you're not a GIS pro yourself, if you just want to share some certain information with your team, this is a great stuff for that. It's meant for that at a glance gathering of information. So we're not just talking about real data. So as all GIS projects are based on data, but we can actually do real-time data. So what if we had someone using the Arc collector out in the field and they were collecting, broken light poles or things like that? What if we had workers out collecting data, and where are our assets? Where are all the equipment? Where is all the equipment that they have? And where are all our trucks? The operations dashboard is used by a number of agencies for like snowplow. Where's the snowplow right now? Where's the UPS driver? Where's our pizza delivery people? We can see all that data in real time on the dashboard, depending on how we have this configured. So what do we need to create one of these operations dashboards? Obviously data, right? GIS is heavily dependent on data, and there's a lot of that out there. So this is going to depend on what sort of things you have going on for your particular organization. You're also going to need ArcGIS Professional. And there's an asterisk here because maybe you don't need ArcGIS Professional, but somebody does. Somebody is going to need ArcGIS Pro to actually publish that web map with that data in order to get that up onto the internet. That way we can configure our stuff inside of the ArcGIS Online platform. From there, you as the user, or me as the user, we need to have an account or have access to ArcGIS Online as a creator. So there are different user types for Esri Online. There's the viewer, there's a creator, there's a field worker, and there's the GIS Pro. We want to have that creator access. Now, all of the ArcGIS AEC collections that are available from us at ATG, all of these collections have that creator presence, which is going to allow you to make those maps and web applications on ArcGIS Online. So that's not a huge deal because it comes with it, as does a seat of ArcGIS Pro. So all we're going to do is we're going to take our data, we're going to push that into ArcGIS Pro. From there, we're going to publish it or share it onto ArcGIS Online. And then once our data is all configured online and in the cloud, then we're just going to make a web application into a dashboard. So let's just hop right into the internet here, and we'll see what we've got. So here I've got ArcGIS Pro, that's not what I want to show you right now. I've got too many windows open. There we go. We'll close our Zoom. So be it that it is December, let's take a look at this one. This was created by a Canadian firm, and I think it's just so cool to show off. This is a applications dashboard meant to show Santa's location. And we can go to our various areas in the world and see if people are naughty or nice. And you can see as I'm zooming my map, we'll go over here by the Pacific Northwest. Here we see we've got 10 nice and 5 naughty. So they're on the screen, and we see the 5 here as it's displaying. We can see their behavior. When were they naughty? When were they nice? Theirs is all just pulling in real GIS data. And so we have our locational data here, and then their behavior patterns are here, and then all of these different applications or elements, as they call them, they used to be called widgets, now they're called elements, are configured to just show that data in a more meaningful way. That's probably a little bit over the top with the fireplace, but we can see all sorts of things that are going on here. So we've got real-time cameras. This is a pretty extreme dashboard, and then if we go over to my neck of the woods, I'm here in Minnesota, and nobody's being nice or naughty, so I guess we're okay. So this one is pretty fun, and in the holiday spirit, this even has a live view of our elf on the shelf character. So, looks like he's up to doing something naughty. And as we go through, we'll start actually looking at AEC functions for this particular product. So now that we're done with the Silly Santa one, I'm going to jump over to another one for a water quality status. So it's a similar thing. We have locational data, and all of that data has information tied to it. So here I've got my water quality. If I zoom in, let's say near this portion of whatever state I'm in. Oh, there we go, Maryland. So as we go through here, I can see my information, which ones have, there's Lake Nirvana, there's station number. So all of these pop-ups can be configured just as they could be in ArcGIS Online. We've got our E. coli levels, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one, and we can go through here. And if we click on any of this locational data over on the left, it's going to zoom me right into that spot. So all of these behaviors can also be programmed. Do I want it to zoom into that spot when I click on it? Do I want it to simply flash the location? It's pretty fascinating what we can do with this. And on that note, on the solutions.arcgis.com website, there is a gallery of operations dashboard for ArcGIS. This is going to list a whole bunch of examples that you can kind of start from, then swap out their data for your data, and have a good base of where you want to start from. So some of these have these big, easy to read open numbers. Some have election results. Some have damage assessments. You can go through here and get a good idea of how else that you can configure these things. And as such, when you're looking at them, you can see you can cater them to your pretended or your intended audience. So here, for example, if we take a look at this election management one, I need to click on it so it makes it bigger here. By having these big, easy to read numbers, so we've got 8 points of data here, we can have it be red or green when it reaches a certain limit. You know, things like this. This would be fantastic for if you're in the service industry, if you've got, I think of pizza delivery a lot. When we come to this sort of thing, we've got wait time, we've got delivery time, we've got, how backed up are we? Are there any problems with our drivers? Things like that. That could be used for this. On an AEC, more focused thing, we could have our survey or our data collection. What if we're doing traffic counts? What if we're doing anything live in the field with, our collector? We have people out collecting, wetland information or trees and shrubs, things like that. Those can all be populated with real-time data. So with that, we're going to make one of our own. And this is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to open up ArcGIS Pro. So in ArcGIS Pro, I have a very, very simple map of Minneapolis. This is close to our Minnesota office. So I found one piece of data that's open source, trying to make this, you know, pretty easy to understand. But I found an open source data for Minneapolis for honeybee permits. So backyard beekeeping is a great thing to do. Let's see what we have in Minneapolis. What if I want to display this data for someone who maybe is interested in this? They want to know, what communities would have a higher concentration. Maybe they want to move to Minneapolis and start their own backyard bee farm. That we can do that with this data. And in this data, there's two types. There's backyard or ground type hives, and there's also rooftop hives. So we want to configure this map to show the two different hive types in two different ways. And this can easily be done right here inside of ArcGIS Pro, but this isn't as user-friendly for our intended audience, right? We don't want everybody to be in Pro, and nor do you want to zoom around and have to explain everything. We can configure these icons and stylize the different points right here in ArcGIS. But all I'm going to do here is simply share this. So if I come up to the Share tab of the ribbon, I can then share this as a web map. And when I share that as a web map, it's probably going to load. And I'm going to give it a name, give it my summary, my tags, and then I can choose who I'm going to share that with. Do I want this to be public for everybody? Or do I want to share it just with my group? I can create all sorts of different groups and subgroups depending on my target audience. So if you have sensitive data, certainly be wary of that before you share it. And once it's shared, you simply hit share. Since I've already done this, we can just go straight back to my internet and we'll take a look at that. So here we are in Arc Online. I've already signed in to my organization. And here is this Minneapolis Bees. So I created the Minneapolis Bees. I still need to give it a description and layers, but I've given it a description here of it shows the 2017 open source data for residential beekeepers. I'm going to open this up in my map viewer. And this is going to open up ArcGIS Online and give me access to all that great data that I've already configured. So here I have, here's one of my bees stop, my bee locations. And I think I've got these set up for orange is rooftop and blue is ground. And I've configured my pop-ups to give me an address and the hive type. So all this is doing is this is pulling that data right out of what's in ArcGIS Pro. And I have this configured with a refresh interval. If I refresh this layer, it's going to go take a look at that data every so often. So if I make this say, 0.1 minute, 0.1 minutes, oh, number lock gets me every time. 0.1 minutes, it's going to check at that interval, and this is always going to change. Now with data like backyard beekeeping, this isn't going to change every 0.1 minutes, but if my data was somebody collecting something out in the field with ArcGIS Online or Arc Collector, or if I was doing like traffic accidents or things like that, police stops, maybe I would want to show this interval a little faster so we can have this update more frequently. So with that, I can still configure and do all sorts of my ArcGIS Online tasks here in the map, but I really want to turn this into that operations dashboard. So in order to do this, I need to share this. So when I share this, I can choose if I'm going to share this with the public or whatever, but I want to create a web app. Because the operations dashboard are web apps. There are a number of apps that you can create with ArcGIS Online, but today we're talking about the operations dashboard. So when I hit share, and there's a couple ways to get to this button. I'll show you an alternate way in a second. I'm going to choose my operations dashboard, and we're going to give this a title. We're going to call this Minneapolis Bees Summary compares rooftop versus ground hive locations. Again, we're just using a very simple collection of data just for these basic stuff. So we're going to hit this. We're going to share this in the same way. This is going to keep the sharing limited to my ATG group. I don't want to share this alternatively. If I did uncheck this, then I could choose if I wanted that to be shared with everyone and make that public. So with this, I'm just going to hit done. And it's going to create this operations dashboard for me. And it's going to be based upon how my map looked when I started. So when I was zoomed into that certain extent that I was in on my ArcGIS Online, this is what it looked like. So this shows basically what I've got. And this is the basis of my dashboard. So from here, I can start adding elements to this to change that data. So I'm going to come to the top and just hit the plus sign, and I'm going to start by just going through some of this different information. So I can give it a header, which I'll do first, and give that a title of what this is going to be. I can choose if I want like an overview map. I can choose a legend. Do I want a serial chart or a pie chart? Indicators, gauges, lists, details, text, and embedded content. If I want to click on something and have it go to a YouTube page or a company website, I can do all that with the embedded content. This is a very, very powerful application, but it's actually fairly easy to use. So I'm going to choose header first. We'll start this, and here's my header panel. I can make it say it defaults to the dashboard title, but we're going to say rooftop versus ground beehives in Minneapolis. And I can choose, do I want this large, small? Do I want it to be an icon? Do I want to put something in here? Do I have bees? Probably not, but there's a whole bunch of things in here. I could do a custom icon if I did have bees, but I could find something fun. We'll just hop out of here before I spend too much time. I got an elephant. Is that close enough? Just for fun, we'll leave that there. I can give a URL for that particular logo if I wanted to go somewhere else. I can choose my text color. In this case, we'll make it blue. My background color, we can make that a lighter blue. I can choose if I want margins on there. So it's very configurable, and it's pretty easy to understand. So once I'm done, I'll just simply hit done, and now I have that header panel. And you just keep working through to get our various information set up. So I've got my side panel. I think the next thing I want is a legend. So I'll create my legend, and here's my legend here, my title. Let's just make this hive locations. I've already shown that I'm talking about bees on my header, so I'm just going to do hive locations. My description, I can configure all this. I'll just go through this one quick. So we've got that. And this can all be configured for different sizes. So if I don't want this thing to be that big, I can just drag this back and forth. And I can always drag this whole thing. Do I want this to be up at the top? Oh, I let go too soon. I can dock it as a row. I can dock it in different ways. I'll put that back there on the left, and we'll reconfigure that. And I can also go back to my configuration. If I wanted to change my icons, I could do so. But we'll leave that there for now. And let's take a look at some of these other elements. So we could choose a serial chart, a pie chart. Both of those are a little overkill for my two pieces of data. If I had more information, such as 10 or 12 pieces of data, maybe that would make more sense, but I'm only comparing these two types right now. So I'm just going to use an indicator. So when I choose an indicator, it's going to ask me to choose what layer I want, because I'm going to have so many. So this is telling me that I've got 90. How do I want to filter this? If I filter this, I can choose hive type. So I've got my ground. So I've got 55 ground ones. And I've got hive type equals rooftop. So I've got those set up, and I can configure this in all sorts of ways. If I show my data table, that didn't work right. There we go. There are our ground ones. So we'll filter that. Indicator, our top text will say rooftop. No data. This still needs to be configured. There's our title. That's what I was looking for. And I can choose my colors. Again, we'll stick with our little blue theme here. And we'll go through. Let's try this, count. Okay. And we'll hit done. This is going to calculate. It found 90. Now I can configure this, make this much smaller, of course. So I can configure this to actually update. This has gone a little crazy here. As I zoom in and out, I can configure this to tell me my exact numbers. And then, of course, once I'm done, all I have to do is hit save. And when I hit save, that's what's going to give me access, or give other users access to that data, or to that operations dashboard, so that they can see it, just like we did earlier when we clicked over here. So once that's saved and that's updated, if I were to change the various locations of the information, that's all going to be displayed per that every time when I hit save. So pretty fascinating. I'm going to go through here one more time, and I'm going to add a list, choose my filter. I can list them all. If I wanted to show the addresses, obviously that's a bit much for this. I certainly could. And again, so this is all tied to what's in ArcGIS Pro. So as I jump back over here to Pro, once this data updates, and when I hit save or share, this is going to go to my web interface for ArcGIS Online. And then when that's done, this operations dashboard is pulling information directly from the ArcGIS Online. So if I wanted this to be real time, I certainly could. But it's fairly easy to use. There's a number of things we can do with this. You don't need to be a Esri Pro to do this. So as long as you have access to that online data, you can make one of these. I'll show you one more real quick. I've got another one that I found it's an interesting topic, we'll say that. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, they made an operations dashboard showing their meth lab incidents. And I found this while randomly Googling. There it goes, now it loads. And this is all configured with nice data. So this one's working quite well. Whenever I zoom around, my stuff is updating based on the day that it occurred, the number of them, so I can see the trend here over the years. I can filter them. So if I just want to see what happened in 2009, now only the 2009 ones show up. Same thing, 2004, all of those show up. So it's a pretty fascinating way to show this data, especially if you were trying to do site selection, or you're looking for a place to live or looking for a place to start a business. What you can do in Esri GIS and GIS as a whole is just fascinating. And it's much bigger than we think here on the civil side, where we're just thinking about roads and sites and commercial projects. There's literally no limit to the data that you can visualize within the Esri product. So hopefully you took a look at this and thought, hey, that's pretty cool, or hey, I've seen that before, or maybe you have specific types of data that you'd like to visualize. Hopefully this gave you some insight into what you can possibly create inside of the Esri operations dashboard. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the group chat now. If you have any ideas for future webinars or would like to see more information, feel free to reach out to us here at ATG, and we'd be happy to answer those questions for you. So if you feel free to reach out to me, I'm Jason Artley. I can be reached at jartley@atgusa.com. Otherwise, be sure to check out our website, atgusa.com, and our YouTube page. On there, you're going to find a lot more data and video based upon our selection of services, including some more Esri content based on the Esri connector, or collector rather. So that Esri collector would have that real-time field data, have it appear into our web map online, which would then be visualized inside of an operations dashboard. So start taking a look at what we've got and start thinking about how that can help you with your business. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.